Have you ever questioned why certain individuals react to you with hostility, even when you have offered them nothing but your genuine support? You go out of your way to provide a helping hand. You remain a steady presence for them in their times of need. And yet, their response is to disregard your efforts, treat you with disdain, or perhaps even oppose your path. Let us explore a timeless perspective that may change how you understand these human interactions. Most assume that goodwill naturally inspires goodwill in others. But a deeper observation into the currents of human nature shows us a challenging truth. Your authentic presence might actually be the very thing that stirs their resistance. Walk this path with me, because by the end, you will grasp the inner mechanics of why a pure heart can sometimes face opposition, and more importantly, how you can shield your own spirit from being diminished by the impact of your compassion. There is an insight that many find difficult to embrace. Every being has a part of themselves they do not wish to see, and the less this hidden self is brought into the light of conscious awareness, the more power it holds in the darkness. But what does this mean for you as you move through the world with a kind intention? Here is a profound insight. When you consistently offer warmth, patience, and clarity to another person, you are doing more than just being gentle. You are holding up a clear mirror to those unacknowledged parts of themselves. Your presence becomes a quiet echo of all the qualities they feel they lack. Ancient teachings suggest that these hidden parts contain everything we have disowned about ourselves. Our perceived failings, our regrets, and our impulses we prefer to keep buried. This is where the reaction becomes difficult. When someone feels your genuine light, their unawakened mind does not register. What a remarkable soul. Instead, a quiet voice within them says, "This person illuminates everything I am not. This presence makes me feel my own emptiness." From a space of deep awareness, we find this leads to what can be called an externalization of their inner struggle. They start to view you as the source of their discomfort, not for anything you have done, but because of the harmony you represent. Yet, there are further layers to this powerful dynamic. A timeless teaching says, "The greatest journey is the full acceptance of oneself." Your own grounded state compels people to face aspects of themselves they would rather leave untouched. Reflect on this. When you are consistently gentle with someone who has been abrasive, patient with someone who has been restless, or accepting of someone who has been closed-minded, you are silently demonstrating another way to exist. Let's consider an insight into the human mind. Most people prefer to cling to their familiar identity, even a painful one, rather than face the discomfort of knowing they possess the capacity for change. Your harmony presents a challenge to their entire self-perception. In a certain spiritual context, this can be understood as an inversion of inner balance. Instead of feeling elevated, they feel a profound sense of lack. The simplest way for them to restore their inner equilibrium is to try and disrupt yours. But here is the part that will open your understanding. The more serene you are, the more you stir these hidden parts within them. The more their hidden parts are stirred, the more they feel a need to convince themselves and those around them that your essence is not genuine. They might label it as false, calculating, or suggest you have some unspoken agenda. A deep observation reveals that people will construct elaborate justifications for your intentions simply to avoid looking at what your clarity reveals about their own conduct. This brings us to a most transformative insight. A wise teaching reminds us, everything that stirs us in others can guide us to an understanding of ourselves. But what happens when your peaceful nature stirs resistance in others? What does this reveal? Consider this perspective on the human condition. Most people live through what can be called a social mask, a version of themselves they present to navigate the world. This mask is often built upon a need to be correct, to appear strong, or to be what is called realistic, which often means guarded. When you appear from a place of genuine being, you are not wearing this mask. This creates a significant dissonance for those who feel defined by their constructed selves. The law of nature reveals that your authenticity makes the outer shell feel hollow and fragile. Since they cannot acknowledge this to themselves, they must frame you as the issue. But here is where the dynamic becomes more complex. It's understood that people will often critique the very qualities in you they quietly yearn for. They might call your warmth weakness, your stillness passivity, and your open heart naivety. Why? To admit your inner strength would mean acknowledging their own uncultivated ground. This is a deep-seated human pattern. They are placing their own internal conflicts onto you. They are not truly troubled by your peace. They are troubled by their own lack of it. This leads us to a vital realization. An ancient saying goes, "Your vision clarifies when you can look into your own heart." One who looks outside dreams. One who looks inside awakens. But what unfolds when your awakened state interrupts another's dream? Consider this insight into human development. Many people are moving through life as if in a slumber, following familiar paths, meeting expectations, and never questioning their inner patterns or behaviors. This is known as an unawakened state. When you show up with consistent inner peace, you are demonstrating the path of self-realization, the process of becoming who you truly are. It has been observed that this can feel like a threat to people who have not begun their own inner work. Your growth can feel like it highlights their stagnation. Your awareness can feel like it exposes their lack of it. But here is the crux of the matter. Timeless wisdom teaches that people will sometimes try to undermine or resist those who are further along their own path of inner development. This is not a conscious act. It is an unconscious impulse to draw you back to a more familiar state of being. This explains why the more you work on your inner self, the more some people may harbor resentment. The more you cultivate emotional poise, the more they may try to provoke your old reactions. The more you find inner wholeness, the more they may try to find your cracks. This brings us to a significant point of awareness. Universal laws are expressed through fundamental patterns, which are deep-seated images and energies that flow from the shared human experience. But what occurs when you go against the prevailing patterns of your surroundings? Here's an understanding of group dynamics. When you consistently choose a path of peace in an environment that often rewards conflict, you are flowing against the currents of your culture's shared mental patterns. From this viewpoint, you become a challenge to the established order. Your way of being suggests another possibility, and this can be deeply unsettling for people who have built their identities around the existing system. And here, the insight becomes truly profound. These shared patterns contain many energetic templates, and one of the most powerful is the template of the one who carries the group's burden. When you are a beacon of peace in a turbulent world, you become the perfect canvas for this pattern. People may transfer their own guilt, shame, and self-rejection onto you. They persuade themselves that you are the issue, not the system that shaped their unease. This is why individuals with pure intentions can become targets. Your inner harmony does not just stir individuals. It can stir entire group dynamics. People may unite in opposition to you, not for your actions, but for the clarity you represent. This leads us to the most vital question. It is said, the purpose of a lifetime is to be who you truly are. But what if being yourself makes others resist you? Here is a profound understanding. The people who are agitated by your peaceful nature are actually reflecting something essential about you. They are revealing where you might be relinquishing your inner strength, where you might be seeking acceptance through your actions. A path of wisdom teaches that true kindness flows from a place of fullness, not emptiness. It comes from having clear and healthy personal space, not from a need to please everyone. But here lies an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes, people are resistant to your kindness because it isn't pure kindness. It's a subtle attempt to influence. One could say you are trying to manage how others perceive you by performing good acts. This has been described as the rescuer's affliction. When you are kind in order to receive something, approval, belonging, affection, you are not acting from your true self. You are acting out a role of kindness, and people can feel this lack of authenticity. It's been observed that this performative goodness can actually stir more distrust than genuine goodness, because it feels indirect and less than honest. So, how can you discern the difference? An old teaching says, "I am not defined by what has occurred to me. I am what I choose to become." And this is where this wisdom becomes deeply transformative. Here is an insight on how to navigate these projected energies and resistance. The first step is to recognize that another's reaction to your kindness is not a statement about you. It is about them. It is about their own relationship with their hidden aspects, their unaddressed pain, their inner fears. From a space of awareness, once you see this clearly, you can choose how to respond. You can continue to be a source of warmth, but from a foundation of inner strength, not a place of seeking. And here is the essential part. You must also turn your gaze inward and examine your own motivations. Are you being kind because it is an authentic expression of your being, or are you extending kindness with an expectation of a return? This is known as inner work. You must be willing to face the parts of yourself that seek validation through good actions. You must be willing to sit with the parts of yourself that need to be seen as the good person in every circumstance. Only when you have integrated these hidden parts of yourself can you offer genuine kindness without needing anything in return. And this brings us to a deep realization. As it is said, everything that stirs us in others can guide us to an understanding of ourselves. But what if that stirring is teaching you about personal space? Here's an understanding about healthy human connection. True compassion requires clear boundaries. When you offer support without boundaries, you are not truly being kind. You are being entangled. You are inadvertently allowing others to cast their inner turmoil onto your clear surface. It is known that inwardly healthy people appreciate genuine kindness because their own sense of self is not challenged by it. Unhealthy people are challenged by kindness because it reflects their own inner disquiet. But here is the perspective that changes the game. When you establish strong, clear boundaries, you can be kind without becoming a target. You can show compassion without absorbing another's inner state. This is known as maintaining your center. You remain firmly in your own being while allowing others the freedom to be in theirs. You do not take on their emotional weight. You do not try to change them or rescue them. And this alters everything. When your kindness flows from a place of fullness instead of need, people respond in a new way. They cannot cast their feeling of lack onto you because you are not trying to prove your worth. But there is still more to see. An old saying goes, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will guide your life and you will call it destiny. And one of the most unconscious patterns is the dynamic between the victim and the rescuer. Let us explore this depleting cycle. Many who face resistance for their kindness are unknowingly playing the part of the rescuer. They are unconsciously drawn to those who feel like victims, hoping to save them. A deep understanding of human dynamics reveals that this creates an unbalanced connection where the person being saved eventually feels resentful toward the rescuer because the foundation of the relationship is unequal. And here is the intricate part. The rescuer often unconsciously gravitates toward people who will eventually turn on them, because on some unacknowledged level, they may feel they deserve to be challenged for their perceived strength. It is understood that this is a form of unconscious self-limitation. The person is recreating patterns from their past where they may have been misunderstood for their goodness. This is why the same pattern may repeat itself. If you consistently draw people to you who react poorly to your kindness, it might be said that you are, on some level, choosing them. You are drawn to people who will confirm your deepest, unexamined beliefs about yourself. This brings us to the ultimate truth. A wise teaching says, your true work is not to search for love, but to find and dismantle all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. This applies to kindness as well. Here is the final insight. The goal is not to cease being kind. The goal is to remove the inner barriers that make your kindness a focus for resistance. From a place of wisdom, these barriers include seeking approval through your actions, trying to manage how others see you, rescuing others to feel worthy, avoiding your own inner shadows by performing goodness, and lacking the clear boundaries that protect your own energy. And here is the beautiful part. When you clear these barriers, your kindness becomes magnetic and powerful. It flows from a place of abundance, not from a place of lack. It arises from strength, not from seeking. It has been observed that this form of authentic kindness is rarely met with hostility because it doesn't challenge anyone. It does not make others feel inadequate because it is not attached to any outcome. And this is where true transformation occurs. It has been said, the most profound challenge is to accept oneself completely. And when you can accept all of yourself, including your shadows, your kindness becomes a steadfast mountain. Here's a realization about authentic kindness. It does not need to be well received. It does not require appreciation. It does not have a goal to change another person. From a space of deep wisdom, authentic kindness is simply an outpouring of who you are, not a method to obtain something you desire. And here is the paradox. When your kindness becomes authentic, people are far less likely to react against it. They may not understand it, but they cannot cast their shadows upon it because it is not seeking to prove its own light. This is what it means to be fully yourself. You are no longer performing kindness. You are the embodiment of it. You are not attempting to be the good person. You are expressing your truest nature. This brings us to the final revelation. As a wise teaching says, where love is the guide, there is no will for power. And where the will for power is dominant, love is absent. But what happens when your kindness illuminates another person's absence of love? Consider this insight into envy and kindness. When you express consistent kindness, you are doing more than being pleasant. You are demonstrating emotional abundance. You are showing that you have inner reserves to give without expecting a return. In certain philosophical views, this is said to stir a deep form of envy in people who feel emotionally depleted. They perceive your kindness, and it serves as a reminder of their own inability to give freely. And here, the dynamic can become very challenging. It's known that envy does not simply wish to possess what you have. It wishes to diminish what you have. Envious people do not think, I wish I could be kind like that. They think, I must demonstrate that their kindness is not real. This is why they will challenge your kindness. They will push against your boundaries, make unbalanced requests, and create circumstances where you must finally say no. Then, they will use your eventual boundary as evidence that your kindness was a performance all along. It has been understood that this is a strategic, though often unconscious, effort to pull you down to their level of emotional scarcity. If they cannot share in your emotional abundance, they will attempt to take it from you. This leads us to a pivotal realization. As it is said, everything that stirs us in others can guide us to an understanding of ourselves. But what if people are casting their own inner harshness onto your kindness? Here's an understanding about how the mind externalizes its inner state. When someone carries the weight of past harshness or neglect, they can struggle to believe that true kindness exists. Their mind simply cannot process the idea that someone would be kind without a hidden reason. From a certain psychological perspective, they project their own internal strategies onto you. They assume you are being kind to gain something, an advantage, control, admiration, because that is the only framework they know for such actions. And here is the intricate part. It has been observed that these people can become fixated on exposing your supposed real motives. They might analyze your past, scrutinize your actions, and develop elaborate theories to explain why you are truly being kind. This can be understood as a form of fearful projection. They are so certain that true kindness is an illusion that they will filter everything you do through a lens of suspicion. A kind word becomes flattery. An offer of help becomes an attempt to control. Understanding becomes a sign of superiority. And the more you try to demonstrate your sincerity, the more they will doubt you. It is realized that defending your kindness actually strengthens their suspicion. It signals to them that you must be concealing something, because in their world, an innocent person would have no need to defend themselves. This creates what can be called the authenticity paradox. An old archetype speaks of the wounded healer, one who can heal others because they have learned to heal themselves. But what happens when your kindness poses a threat to someone's identity as a wounded person? Here's an insight about those who become attached to their own pain. Some individuals have constructed their entire sense of self around being hurt, let down, or mistreated. Their wounds become their story, their claim for attention, and their reason for not growing. From a certain perspective, when you approach with kindness, you are offering them a path to wholeness. But wholeness means letting go of their familiar wounded self, and this can be terrifying. And here is a difficult truth. It is known that these individuals will sometimes undermine their own healing to hold onto a familiar state of suffering. They will refuse your kindness, push you away, and then point to your absence as evidence that everyone eventually abandons them. This is sometimes called the victim's retribution. They punish you for attempting to help because your help implies they have the power to change, and change is the one thing they fear the most. This explains why the very people who seem to need kindness the most are often the ones who reject it with the most force. They are not just rejecting your support, they are rejecting the possibility of their own transformation. It has been found that this creates an inner prison where they must cast you as the antagonist to preserve their status as the victim. But the complexity deepens even further. As a great mind once said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But what if one person refuses to be transformed by your kindness? Here is what is understood about emotional maturity. When you consistently choose peace over reactivity, stillness over anger, and understanding over judgment, you are demonstrating emotional wealth, not moral superiority. Emotional wealth. In some psychological frameworks, this is said to create a sense of inferiority in others. They feel small in the presence of your emotional maturity. So, they must find ways to reduce you to a more familiar level. And here is the subtle part. It's been seen that they will often use your own kindness as a tool against you. They will label you as too nice, naive, or weak to make themselves feel stronger in comparison. This is a form of defensive dismissal. They cannot critique your kindness itself, so they attack your perceived intelligence, your strength, or your awareness of the world. They need to convince themselves and others that kindness is a form of foolishness. And this leads to a sobering realization. It is understood that some people would rather be seen as harsh and clever than kind and simple. They have mistaken emotional intelligence for a lack of intellectual rigor. But this is where this insight becomes truly liberating. It has been said, the most profound challenge is to accept oneself completely. And your kindness forces others to confront their own level of self-acceptance. Here's an insight on the test of authenticity. When you are genuinely kind, you are moving from what could be called your authentic center. You are not performing. You are not strategizing. You are simply being. Ancient wisdom teaches that this authenticity acts like a source of pure light. It reveals the lack of authenticity in its surroundings, and this can make others profoundly uncomfortable. But here is the deeply insightful part. It's been observed that people who resist your kindness are often those who have never touched their own authentic nature. They have been playing a role for their entire lives, so they cannot believe that you are not playing one as well. This can be called the performance trap. They are so accustomed to influencing others through their behavior that they assume everyone operates in the same way. Your genuine kindness disrupts their map of how the world functions. And this creates what is known as a cognitive rift. Their mind cannot hold the existence of genuine kindness alongside their worldview that everyone is ultimately self-serving. So they are left with two options: either change their entire view of the world or persuade themselves that your kindness is an act. Which one do you think is easier? But this is where this wisdom becomes your strength. An ancient saying goes, your vision clarifies when you look into your own heart. One who looks outside dreams. One who looks inside awakens. And awakening means developing what can be called emotional clarity. Let's consider this idea of emotional clarity. Just as a person recovering from an addiction must maintain their clarity, emotionally centered people must learn to maintain their clarity amidst emotional turmoil. From a space of wisdom, when you have emotional clarity, you can see clearly when someone is projecting their own wounds onto your kindness. You do not absorb it personally because you understand its origin is not in you. And here is the vital part. It has been realized that emotional clarity does not mean becoming cold or aloof. It means being kind without being a doormat, and compassionate without becoming entangled. This is what is known as conscious compassion. You can see another's pain without taking on their pain. You can understand their projection without accepting it as your truth. You can be kind without becoming a victim, and this changes your entire experience. When you are emotionally clear, their resistance to your kindness becomes information, not an injury. It informs you about their inner state, not about your own worth. A deep understanding of this allows you to maintain your kindness, while also protecting your own inner space. You do not become harsh in response to their harshness, but you do not become an open vessel for it either. And this brings us to the most important insight of all. A timeless truth states, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And the person you choose to become will determine how your kindness is experienced in the world. Here is the ultimate wisdom. People do not resist genuine kindness. They resist the challenge that this kindness presents to their ego, their social mask, and their unhealed wounds. Ancient wisdom teaches that your work is not to make your kindness more acceptable to wounded people. Your work is to ensure that your kindness is genuine, that it has clear boundaries, and that it flows from a place of inner strength. But hold this crucial point in your heart. It has been observed that the very same kindness that stirs resistance in some people will inspire deep gratitude and connection in others. The difference lies in their level of consciousness and self-acceptance. So here is your path. You can continue to be kind while shielding yourself from these projections. You can maintain your authenticity while establishing clear boundaries. You can express your true nature while refusing to be a target for another's pain. This is the path of self-realization. It is about becoming fully yourself, no matter how others may respond. And this is the journey to inner freedom. When you understand that their reaction to your kindness is about them and not you, you are empowered to choose your response. You can be kind without being a victim. You can be authentic without being a target, because ultimately, as has been understood for ages, the goal is not to be liked by everyone. The goal is to be true to yourself while cultivating healthy connections with those who are able to receive your authentic presence. And that, my friend, is the secret to being kind in a world that can sometimes resist kindness. You do not change who you are. You become more deeply who you are, with stronger boundaries and clearer intentions. Because the timeless truth is this: your vision becomes clear when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. And the kindness of an awakened person is unshakable. But here is the final truth you should carry with you. The people who resist your kindness are actually your greatest guides. They are showing you exactly where you need to cultivate stronger boundaries, clearer intentions, and a deeper self-acceptance. They are not your adversaries. They are your mirrors. And when you can see them as mirrors instead of as threats, you have mastered the art of being kind in a world that sometimes cannot handle it. This is what ancient traditions call the transcendent function, the ability to hold apparent opposites, to be kind and strong, compassionate and boundaried, understanding and protected. And this is the mastery that can be found when you can be kind without needing appreciation, helpful without seeking gratitude, and understanding without requiring validation, you have achieved what can be called psychological freedom. You are no longer a casualty of other people's projections, and you are no longer a prisoner of your own need for approval. You are simply, authentically, and powerfully kind, and that changes everything. Remember, the people who react to your kindness are showing you their wounds, not your weaknesses. Your work is to stay kind while protecting your own energy, setting clear boundaries, and choosing relationships with those who can value your true nature. Because as timeless wisdom has always known, the world does not need less kindness. It needs more people who are kind from a place of strength, not from a place of need. And now you understand the difference. Now, you have a map for being authentically kind in a world that sometimes cannot receive it. The path is inward. The power is yours. The freedom is yours. Use it with wisdom.